right? Let's start off by saying Barakateh Hawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem, B'cha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is just basically a various topics, dated January 18th, 2024, the hopeful year that, the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. And pretty much I was reading through the book again that I've been reading through, New Testament and Antiquity, and just ran across a couple of things in here, and it made me just go into doing just a little bit of research on this topic. I don't really have anything particular, just a couple of things I was going through, so let me just share with you, and we'll see where the Spirit leads it. But there's a lot of these individuals out here that talk about the scriptures, and they talk about the Hebrew language and different things of that nature. Their whole thing is based off of, a lot of stuff is based off of speculation, theories, and beliefs and thoughts, and but the thing is that the average person will accept it because it's coming from Esau. If something is a theory, they'll accept it if it's coming from Esau, but they won't accept it if it's coming from Jake. Because Jake, like with us, the Hebrew Israelites, we teach that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians are the Israelites of the Bible. We go to the Bible, we prove it. We go through all different types of precepts. We go to different icons and different things of that nature, proving that the Israelites were people of color. But that still ain't enough. But as soon as Esau says, nope, the Israelites are not so-called black, they're the people that are over there, everybody just accepts it. Or the majority of the world just accepts it because of who the devil is, which shows you that even among Jake, you still have those that believe that Esau is the Most High, that Esau is Yahushai and all of that, and he's not. Now, as I was reading through this book, right, there's a section here, just bear with me 1 second. There's a section here, right, on page 73 called Rabbinic Literature, right, and I was reading through it, and it was speaking about, the sources that were available back then. Now, there's this big thing that the Hebrew language wasn't being spoken back then, that the language that Jake was speaking back there was the Aramaic, which is the Syrian form of Hebrew. And I just started typing in some questions in Google. I came across this site right here. It's called Hebrew Usage in the First Century by somebody named Dr. Orville Boyd Jenkins. Right? And then the question there says, it says Jesus, but we know his name is Yahushai. Could Yahushai and the other religious leaders read the then classical Hebrew with understanding? So it's a question. And this individual, he says that he's a very studious student in this area. He says he's not an expert, but he says he's a very studious individual in that realm, so to speak. And then when you read through this, there is a lot of conjecture. Now, what is conjecture? Let's look it up. Conjecture. Because I know Jake, you'll say a word, they won't understand it, but they won't look it up. Because Jake is a lazy Judas blood goat. So conjecture, an opinion or conclusion formed on the basis of incomplete information. And when you go and you research certain things, there is incomplete information out there. You're not going to be able to get all of the resources that you need, because a lot of those resources have either been lost, destroyed, or whatever the case may be, distorted, changed. Not like today. Today, they have a very well detailed, whatever's going on today, it's very well detailed. So if you research certain things that happen today and you look it up, you'll see a very detailed, record of what's going on today. But the stuff that was happening back then, only fragments of stuff, really exist today. Now we here at Great Millstone, of the Hebrew Israelites, we believe that the Lashon Kodash, or the Holy Tongue, is the actual language of the heavens. You have the small hats in their language say that the word for Lashon Kodash is Loshen Kodesh, or something along those lines, right? We say Lashon Kodash, they say Loshen Kodesh in their dialect. Well, it means the same thing, tongue holy, or holy tongue, which is the Paleo Hebrew. All right? So I'm not going to really read much of this. You could type it in, languages, theology, and Christian faith, Hebrew usage in the first century, and this will come up. And you can read through it, and you're going to see that he has a lot of conjectures in here, which is an opinion based on limited resources. All right? And this is pretty much the same thing with these scholars and different individuals out here. They're only going to give you what they're allowed to speak on. All right? This gives you here it says, in recent years, much has been discovered on the linguistic transitions in Judea and earlier Israel, the northern area called Samaria, as well as Israel before the Assyrian destruction, and including the smaller first century Samaria and Galilee. Now they're saying that by the time that Yahushua was on the scene, the Jews in Jerusalem were speaking the Aramaic language. And I say that through my research in the scriptures, that only the learned of that day, which would be who they would call the rabbis and religious leaders, only they knew the Aramaic. The common people did not. Now, what do I base this on? I base it on the book of Isaiah, the 36th chapter. Now, this is after the northern kingdom fell to the Assyrian Empire. All right, which the Assyrian Empire, they had also the language of the Syrian, which is what you see here. I'll show you. What you see here, these letters here, this would be known as the Assyrian or Aramaean script. I'm sorry, the Syrian or Aramaic script, because when you look at the word Syrian itself, let's just go there real quick. When you look at the word Syrian itself, right, it goes, matter of fact, let's just type in Syrian. Let's see where the first time it comes up as the word Syrian. The first time it comes up is in Genesis 25 and 20. All right? It says, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. Now, they weren't actual Syrians. They were a family line or descendants of Abraham's family. All right? But they were being called Syrian because they actually lived in the land of Syria. Now, when you go to the word Syrian itself, right, you have the word Aramya. Aramya. All right? Let's go to Aramya. It goes back to the word Aram, which means exalted. Syrian or Aramaean, exalted. So this is where the name of the language comes from. This particular type of Hebrew here, the Aramaean or Syrian tongue. A thing or person from Syria or Aram. Now they were living there, so they were being called Syrian, but they were not Syrian. They were Shemitic Hebrews. Now, when you come from America, you could be Chinese, you could be Japanese, you could be a Hamite, you could be whatever. But if you live here or if you were born here or naturalized here, you would be known as an American or U.S. citizen. That doesn't mean that every American is an Edomite. All right? Because you have different nations living here under the banner of American. When you go back to the ancient Roman Empire, you have many people that lived there, many different, walks of life, many different nations, nationalities that were being called Romans. But they were not all Romans. You have to know how to distinguish. All right? So now, the word Aramaean, or Aramya, or Aram, this is not the first time that it appears in Scripture, but this is the first time that it appears as the word Syrian. All right? So now, when we go to Genesis, the 10th chapter, all right, this is the first time, to my knowledge, matter of fact, you know what? Let me just do it this way. Let me type in Aram. And as you can see, Genesis 10:22 is the first time the name Aram comes up. And this is one of the sons of Shem. Because remember, Noah, who was the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the flood came, destroyed the earth. The Lord saved 8 souls, humans, Noah, his 3 sons, and their 4 wives. So the children of Shem, because after that, everybody was destroyed, so there was just 4 men left on the earth. And out of the 3 sons of Noah, this is how the earth was repopulated again. All right, so everybody on the planet Earth, regardless of whether they believe it or not, comes from either Shem, Ham, or Japheth. These are the 3 men that repopulated the whole. All these billions of people you see on the earth came from those 3 men. Oh, and by the way, we're waiting for somebody to come to fix whatever the thermostat or whatever, because the heat is out here, in the elder's crib. So if I get a knock on the door, Salaki, I'm gonna have to end the alive, and Lord's will I can continue it after they finish. Satan is always busy. But anyways, so from those 3 men, the whole earth was repopulated. So now Shem had 5 sons: Elam, which are the so-called East Indians, and Ashur. Ashur are the Assyrians. Then you had Arphaxad and Lud, and what? Aram. Aram is where you get the Syrians from. All right, if you're not familiar with where Syria is at, type in on Google, type in Syria, then map, Syria map, and it will give you a map of, I'll say it this way, the what they call today the Middle East is not really the Middle East. That's pretty much a made up thing. And the Elder Makama has been trying to push that narrative out there because it's the truth. But it's just like saying somebody calling somebody an Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom was not a bad guy. He was a good guy. But his name has been darkened that way. The real bad guy was Sambo. But to this day, even when you bring that up, people still say Uncle Tom. Why? Because that's something that's known. So it's not, brothers are not, brothers and people are not going to stop saying Middle East because that's just what everybody knows it as. But it's really a part of Asia. Okay? The scriptures, you also had Asia Minor, which you have Turkey and all those different regions. But if you type in on Syrian map or Syria map, you're going to get what they call the Middle East, which is really part of Asia. All right? And you're going to see the map, and you're going to see where the land of Syria is located. Well, this is where the name Syria comes from, Aram. When we go down here to Aram, right? Aram means Aram or Aramaean, exalted. Aram or Syria, the nation. The Syrian or Aramaean people. This is where the language that we use today, i.e., this writing that you see here, that's known as the Assyrian form. Now, I thought I had it up there. Is this it? Yeah. Now this right here is the Paleo Hebrew. All right? That's the Paleo Hebrew. And as you see above it, that's the Assyrian script or Aramaean. There are 2 different languages. But, or should I say they're two, yeah, you could, two dialects. All right, because Jacob spoke the Hebrew language and Laban spoke the Aramaic. You know, in the book of Genesis, it tells you that they named this one stone, one name, Jacob named it in the Hebrew, and Laban named it in the Aramaic. And they give you the two names that they use. All right, so there's a difference between the two languages in pronunciation and in look. All right, because this is a A, right? That's the first letter. And let's see, and this is a A. You can see that there are two different styles of writing. All right, so that's where the language goes back to where we at right here, Genesis 10. So the children of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Aphax, and Lud, and Aram. Now, building off of that, right? When we go back to Isaiah 36, this is when Sennacherib, which was the captain of the guard, I'm sorry, Rabshakeh. I got him mistaken. Rabshakeh, which was one of the captains of the guard of the Assyrian Empire, he came to the kingdom of Judah, the southern kingdom, and was popping off because they had just recently, not too long before this, they had taken down the northern kingdom. So they were on this thing that there's no God out there that can save their people from the Assyrians taking over. So they were, pretty much talking cash money, dollar bill shit. So just to keep, to get you up to speed on it. So Isaiah 36:7, but if thou say to me, this is Rabshakeh speaking, we trust in Yahweh our power, is it not he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah has taken away, and said to Judah and to Jerusalem, you shall worship before this altar? Now therefore give pledges, I pray thee, to my master, the king of Assyria, and I will give thee 2,000 horses, if thou be able on thy part to send riders upon them. How then wilt thou turn away the face of one captain of the least of my master's servants, and put thy trust on Egypt for chariots and for horsemen? And am I now come up without the Lord against this land to destroy it? Yahweh said unto me, go up against this land and destroy it. Right? So keep in mind, he's still popping off. Now this is the point here. Then Eliakim and Shebna and Joah, then said Eliakim and Shebna and Joah unto Rabshakeh. Now Eliakim, Shebna, and Joah, right? These were learned men. These were high in the cabinet of King Hezekiah, right? They were high in his cabinet. So these were considered learned men. They then said Eliakim and Shebna and Joah unto Rabshakeh, speak, I pray thee, unto thy servants in the Syrian language. See, when you look up the Syrian language, that's what? The Aramaean. Let's go to the word Syrian language, Aramia. All right? So listen to what they say. Then said Eliakim and Shebna and Joah unto Rabshakeh, speak, I pray thee, unto thy servants in the Syrian language, for we understand it. Why? Because they were nobles, they were learned. And speak not to us in the Jews' language, which is what? The basic common Hebrew language, which was the language of the commoners, in the ears of the people that are on the wall, because they did not understand the Syrian or Aramaean language. So just based off of this scripture, it stands to reason that when you go and you research and read the scriptures in the New Testament, the language that was being spoken back then was among Israel, among the commoners, was the actual Hebrew language and not the Syrian tongue, because the Syrian tongue, as we read, was one of the languages of the learned. All right? When we go to Acts 4:13, now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were what? Unlearned and ignorant men, they marveled and they took knowledge of them that they had been with the Yahushai. So the commoners were not speaking the Aramaean language based off what we're reading here. All right? They were speaking the Hebrew. Let's look up this word unlearned. And then I want to go to Acts 2. Let me just keep that there. Unlearned. Agrammatos, which means no letters. No letters. Illiterate, unlearned. All right. So they would not be classified as learned men because they didn't go to the prestigious schools that the average learned so-called rabbi of those times would go to. So it stands to reason, yeah, the higher ups, the priests and the higher cabinet of Israel spoke that language, the Aramaean, but the common people did not, as they did not speak that language during the time of what we're reading right now in the Old Testament when the Assyrians were in power. Now here, this is when they spoke in different tongues because the Lord gave them the power at that time. They had the Holy Spirit to speak in these different tongues. It says, and they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And Galilee was pretty much anyone that was from up in that region, they were looked down upon, as ignorant. A lot of them were ignorant, and that's what they perceived them as being. It just says a native of Galilee. Nazareth was just like the ghetto of ghettos. That's why even Nathaniel said, can any good thing come out of Galilee? I believe out of Nazareth. Was it Nazareth? Let me just fact check that real quick. That was St. John chapter 1. Just bear with me 1 second. I just want to make sure. Nazareth. And Nathanael said unto him, can there any good thing come out of Nazareth? Philip said unto him, come and see. See? So the Lord makes sure that Yahushua grew up in an area that was disdained, looked down upon. Even the people of that area didn't accept Yahushua. He said, man, you were born around. Even though he wasn't born around there, you grew up around here. So they were not considered to be learned men. So it doesn't make sense that when the so-called first century came around, that all the Israelites were speaking the Aramaic language and only a handful were speaking the Hebrew. The Hebrew was a common language among our people, not the Aramaic. The Aramaic was only the language of the learned. All right? And like I said, I was just doing like a little research and going through this and that. And I just say, let me just go live and see where the Spirit leads us. So now this is when Yahushua was crucified, right? And Matthew 27:45. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani? That is to say, my power, why hast thou forsaken me? Now this here, what we're reading here, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, goes back to the Old Testament, right? When you go to the word Eli, there it says Eli or Heli. Then here you got Eli, it's a Hebrew origin, Allah. See, God, power. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, the Hebrew form as Elio, etc. And remember, this pronunciation, or these pronunciations, are based off of modernized Hebrew, not the Hebrew of the ancient world, etc. Is a Syro-Chaldaic. See how they try to throw that in there? The common language and used by the Jews in the time of Yahushua. No, it was not. It was common among the learned of the day, as we just read in Isaiah 36. Here it is, they tell you the common language used by the Jews in the time of Yahushua without no sources, no scriptures. I just showed you in the scriptures in the book of Isaiah, and it's also when you go back to the Kings or Chronicles or one of them, it says the same thing. That only the learned among Israel knew the Aramaic language. Of the first words of the 22nd Psalm, right, because that's what it goes back to, the 22nd Psalm. We go to the 22nd Psalm, it says, my power, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my ruin? Because this was an actual prophecy that would be accomplished or fulfilled in Yahushai. When we go to the word my power, you have the word alayah, right? Allah, which these devils say ale. It ain't no beer. Allah means power. It could refer to the Most High. It could refer to angels. It could refer to magistrates, judges, people that are in position of power. All right? And that's what it goes back to the ancient Hebrew. Now, when we go to this here, this is also Psalms 22. There you have the word alayah. Here you have the word alayah in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, which this is the actual language. Alayah, the Hebrew, the language of Canaan. All right? This came after, this came later, because remember, let's go from there to the book of Genesis. I could have went to the other one, but that's all right. Genesis, the 11th chapter. So it says 11:1, and the whole earth was of what? Was of one language and of one speech. All languages on the planet stem from the Hebrew, the ancient Hebrew language. Here you have wa Yahaya, Kal, Ha'aratazah, Shepah, Achath, wa Debarium, Akkadium. So it says, and the Kal, all or whole, Ha, the Aratazah, earth, Shepah is lip or tongue. Achath or Achath is one. You have the word Akkad. Yahweh, Shemaya, Sha'ala, Yahweh, Alahayanahu, Yahweh, Akkad. Hear, O Israel, our Lord is one power. The Lord is one. So Akkad is one. So lip one, or tongue one. Wa Debarium, and words, Akkadium, one. So they have one language and one speech, or one tongue, or one tongue, one pronunciation. And then during this time, that's when the languages were dispersed. It was changed. All right, but what was the actual language? Let's go. Was it this one here? Let me see. Bear with me. Yep. What was that language? When we go back to Genesis 10th chapter, right? Let's read some of these. Genesis 10:22. The children of Shem, Elam and Asher and Arphaxad and Lud and Aram. Remember, Aram is where you get the name for the Syrian language. And the children of Aram, Uz and Hul and Gether and Mash and Arphaxad begat Salah, and Salah begat Eber. Now, when we look at Eber, when you go back, where is it, to the 21st verse, right? Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber. Because Eber was where the chosen line was going to go through. Now, was Shem the father of Eber? No, he was not. He was his great-grandson. As we see here, and Arphaxad, which is one of the sons of Shem, you could look through here, you will not find Eber's name here. Begat Salah, which would be Abraham, which would be Shem's grandson, and Salah begat who? Eber. Now, Eber is where you get the name or the Hebrew name for the Hebrew language, which is Ibar, which means from the past. Now, I do have the Ben Yehudi here, right? Let's see. Try this. Where we at over here? Oh, beautiful. Almost there. Let's see if we could. Let's see if they'll give that to me. Yes. Go one more. No. Damn devils. Yeah, they won't give it to me here because we're missing. Well, see how some of these pages won't come up. But you look up the word past as the past, and you will see that it goes back to the Hebrew word ibar. All right, ibar. Because when you look it up, it doesn't really give it to you. Ibar, it says the region beyond. It could be used in that fashion, but it's also past. Why? Because that was the language of the past. And that's why it said that Shem, the father of all the children of Eber, because through Eber's line was where you get the promise. Because those are going to be, that's where Abraham came from, Isaac, Jacob, so on and so forth. So when you read through, back in Genesis 10, right? You read through there and it gives you all of the names of all of the families of Shem. When you go to the 11th chapter and the 10th verse, it says, these are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad. See? So Shem, it went from Shem to Arphaxad. And then from Arphaxad, right, it went to Salah. From Salah, it went to Eber. Ibar, Hebrew. That's where you get the Hebrew language from. Now he had what was it? You had Eber, right? And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided. And that's what the word Peleg means, Pelag, which means to divide. That's what was that's how the earth became divided. And the chosen line passed through him, right? It says, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan, right? Now we see here Eber, right? Eber begat Peleg, which we just read. Peleg means division or divided, right? Then you had Peleg had who? Reu, because Eber had a brother, Joktan, but the line didn't go to him. It went through Eber, it went through Peleg, Reu, and as you continue down here, you have Nahor, right? And then you had Nahor begot Terah. Terah is the father of Abraham and his two brothers. All right? Now, Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. These are the three sons of Terah. Now, Haran died, right? And that's why they named that area in Syria Haran or Haran, after Abraham's brother. When you type that in, you type in Haran map, and you're going to see that. Matter of fact, let's do that. Let's type in Haran map. Let's see if we can find a good one. Let me go to images. Is this it right there? There you go right there. Haran or Haran. Right there. See? Syria? And that's what they were known as Syrians. You have Iraq here. And if you go further down, you're going to see the land of Israel, so on and so forth. See Iran, Iraq. All right. And then you have the Red Sea. I'm sorry, the Euphrates River and the Tigris River. That's Haran. This was named after Abraham's brother, as a memorial to him because he had passed away. And this is where Abraham's other brother, Nahor, stayed. So all of those peoples there were either descendants of Haran. No, they were descendants of Nahor. So pretty much they were Abraham's family, his family line, and that's why they were supposed to get women from that area for their sons, and not the Canaanite women that were predominantly down in the land of Israel, or the land of Canaan, which later became known as the land of Israel. All right, so just rid of that. Let's go back to where we were at. Where were we? Genesis 11. All right, so you had Haran. All right, so you had Abram, Nahor, Haran. Then the line went from Abram, then it went to Isaac, then it went to Jacob. All right, because Abram did not have Ishmael and Esau. According to this dynamic scholar, this Hugley herself, the dynamic scholar, Dr. Hugley, she said that Abram had two sons, Ishmael and Esau. No. And this is why a woman should not teach. Now, sometimes you will misspeak on certain things, but she just knew she nailed it. Abraham had two sons. He had Ishmael and he had Esau. Shut the fuck up. All right, so that's who the line went through. And that's why in the 14th chapter of the book of Genesis, and there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew. Abraham, or Abram, was classified as the Hebrew. All right? Now, there was more than one Hebrew family. You had the Hebrew Moabites, you had the Hebrew, Ammonites, so on and so forth. So you had more than one Hebrew family. This is why the Apostle Paul said, that's what the Apostle Paul said in Philippians 3 and 5. Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of the Hebrews. So he was a Hebrew of the chosen Hebrews, because you had more than one Hebrew family from back then, as touching the law of Pharisee. See, so you had many Hebrew families back then, but the top Hebrew family was the nation of Israel, right? Whose father was Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. All right? So, going back, Abraham or Abram was identified as the Hebrew. And then you had, as we understand when you do the research, you had more than one Hebrew family. But the main Hebrew family that the Most High was dealing with was the nation of Israel. So Abram, which was his name before it was changed to Abraham, is a compound word. The Ab here is Abba, or father, and the Rum is exalted. So Abram was his father exalted. When his name was changed to Abraham, he still had the same Ab or Abba, which is father. Raham is of a multitude. Raham is multitude. Ram is exalted. Raham is multitude. So he went from father exalted to father of a multitude. Now, why was he known as father exalted? Is because Abram was the first father of the promise. All right, and through him came the rest, which was out of the 8 sons that Abram had, one was chosen, and that was Isaac. And that's why when we go to Genesis again, the 25th chapter, this was, just before Abram passed away. You had his wife Keturah, which he had 8 sons by. You have them all here. Then you had prior to this, you had Ishmael by Hagar, and then you had Isaac by Sarah. Right? And then Genesis 25 and 5, it says this, and Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. Why? Because Isaac was the next father in line of the promise. It says, but unto the sons of the concubines which Abram had, Abraham gave gifts, and sent them away from Isaac his son. Why? Because they were not heirs to the promise, while he yet lived eastward unto the east country. See? So there was a separation. because the Most High made that separation. Let's go to Deuteronomy 32. And this has never changed. 8. When the Most High divided, when he palag or peleg, let's see, divided, the word there for divided is nachal, which is another word for division. Nachal, to get is a possession, acquire, inherit, to take possession, inherit. And that's how he divided it, to divide for a possession, because the lands are broken up into, the different, they're broken up into the different regions based off of the people of that land and who received what as an inheritance. That's why in Deuteronomy 19:14 it says, "Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land of the Lord Yahweh Shem that power giveth thee to possess it." Right. So the nations back then, they were divided, and they were given the best lands first. Then the Israelites, which were given the best land, were given their inheritance last. The last shall be first, first shall be last. All right. So let's read this again. It says, when the Most High, this back in Deuteronomy 32:8, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, and this is what the world view, especially the world Christian view, has everyone integrated. Scriptures say here that the Most High is separated. He's a separatist. Let's go to the word separated. The word there is parad. To separate, divide. So who made the division? The Most High made the division. Because he didn't want everyone integrated. He wanted everybody separated. Because if he wanted everybody integrated, then why did he prohibit Israel to marry those Canaanite women? And vice versa, that women marry the Canaanite men. Because he divided everything. We were supposed to keep it within the family. Nepotism. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Because he gave every nation their land first, and then he gave Israel the inheritance last. For the Lord's portion is what? His people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. And he gave them the best land. He gave up our forefathers the best land. All right? So this is why it says in Deuteronomy 19:14, "Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance." And remember, when the Lord delivered our forefathers out of Egypt, after the 40 years in the wilderness, they were traveling, and they passed by certain lands, namely Edom, Moab, Ammon, and the Lord said, don't go there because I'm not giving you any of these portions of land. Your lands are already given to you. These are not part of your lands, because those lands were etched out for those nations. And that's why you weren't supposed to remove the landmarks, because that was their inheritance for them and their children and their children's children, so on and so forth. So let's see, the word landmark. Landmark. Nabawal. Landmark. Oh, I'm sorry, Gabawal. I didn't see the Ga. Which goes back to Gabal. Border, territory. All right? So that's pretty much it on that. So let's see what else we have. Okay, so this goes back to the Hebrew. So we were dealing with this here. So when Yahweh Shai said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, he was saying, Alayah, my power, why hast thou forsaken me? In the Hebrew language, the Hebrew tongue. So the Israelites during the first century, the commoners were considered just that, commoners. And from what we read, we read that the commoners did not understand the Aramaic language during the time of, when the Assyrians and Babylonians were in rulership. So it stands to reason that they were not speaking that language during this time. Now, like I said, when you read through this guy has a lot of conjectures. All right? When you read through different sources, even these so-called scholars can't agree on certain things. But that's, neither here nor there. That's on them. Now, something else that I ran across in looking into some of this was, I ran into just a couple of precepts, because what I did was I typed in, I was trying to get like some information on the tongue of the learned, what did they speak, the tongue of the learned, and I forgot exactly how I worded it, and it gave me some precepts that we haven't gone over in a long time, namely the book of Isaiah 50. So I want to just kind of touch on some of these. This is Isaiah chapter 50 and 1. Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement, whom I have put away? Or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you? Behold, your iniquities have use of, for your iniquities have you sold yourselves, and for your transgressions is your mother put away. Wherefore, when I came, was there no man? When I called, was there none to answer? Is my hand shortened at all that it cannot redeem? So this is pretty much the one of the prophecies of Yahushai's coming. All right? Or have I no power to deliver? Behold, at my rebuke I dry up the sea, I make the rivers a wilderness, their fish stinketh, because there is no water, and dieth for thirst. I clothe the heavens with blackness, and I make sackcloth their covering. Now this is the point here, right here. The Lord power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, has given me the tongue of the learned. Matter of fact, let me bring this back here so we don't lose track. No, you know what? Let me leave it there. And let me bring one of these up. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 49. And let's start at the first verse. Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken, ye people, from far. This is the Most High Yahweh speaking to Israel. Yahweh hath called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name. Right, because the Israelites, you have the prophets that come from the nation of Israel. Now you do have other nations that the Lord gives certain visions to, but the Most High's prophets are Israelites. Let's go to Amos chapter 2 and verse, 11. And I raised up of your sons for prophets, and of your young men for Nazarites. Is it not even thus, O ye children of Israel, said the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai? Now the Lord did give certain visions to heathens, namely Balaam, and he said that he will pour his flesh unto all his spirit unto all flesh, and give them all types of visions. But that doesn't make them the prophets of the nation of Israel. All right. So moving on, Isaiah 49:2, the main point. And he hath made my mouth like a sharp sword. Right, and that's why? Why? Because the Lord's words are sharp. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12. Matter of fact, I started 11. Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. Right, because that's what we're looking for, that rest, which is the kingdom of heaven. That's why it says that the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Why? Because they're going to finally get the rest that they deserve. We're going to finally get that rest. For the word of the Most High is quick and powerful. So let's labor to enter into the rest, because the Most High's words are quick and powerful. Because the word of the Lord do not go out void, and sharper than any two-edged sword. And this is why, let's get another one. The book of Luke, 21 and 15. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And this is why they look for what? Slander. And that's what the word devil means, slanderer. You know? And that's why they try to denigrate our name by making us look bad. If you don't know what the word denigrate is, look it up. You know, they try to, which means to blacken, to darken. That's why they do that, because they're trying to put spots on us so that, because they know the message that we're giving is a true message. But they figure if they could attack our character, they try to besmirchify our character. Inside joke. You know, they know that the average person, once you put a blot on somebody, they make everything else unbelievable. That's why when you go to a court of law, you know, when you have witnesses, a witness, if they have a criminal record or they have, you know, a stain on their name, their testimony is not taken serious because of their record. You see? And that's why they're trying to make us look bad or paint us in a bad light, so that the average Israelite out there will not accept what we're saying, which is a beautiful thing, because that's part of the sifting process. But the Lord said that He will give us a mouth with wisdom, which all the adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And that's what they bring up about slanders, because they can't attack the actual teachings. So they have to try to make us look bad. And that's one of Esau's tactics or techniques. So Hebrews 4:12, for the word of the Most High is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. So the Lord said that in Isaiah 49:2, for His prophets, and He hath made my mouth like a sharp sword. Because this word is very effective. They have a saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That's not true. Words hurt. There's a saying, the truth hurts. Because when the truth comes out, the truth is not what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't tiptoe around. It comes straight. It doesn't care about your feelings. You know, it doesn't consider your feelings or your thoughts or how you may think. It's just the truth. It's just sharp. And He had made my mouth like a sharp sword, and the shadow of His hand hath He hid me. Right, because this is the shadow of the Lord's hand, which is this truth. This is the refreshing. This is the strong tower. This is that refuge, that pavilion. You know, what the Lord is using to protect us. That's why it says that when the enemy shall come in, you know, like a flood, the Lord shall lift up a standard against them. Because we have kept the word of the Lord's patience, He also will keep us from the hour of temptation. And made me a polished shaft, and His quiver hath He hid me. Right. So we are sharp. We're like sharp arrows in the Lord's quiver. And what He's doing is He's shooting those sharp arrows at Esau. And these words are weapons. These words are weapons. This is why the Apostle Paul called it weapons. Put on the whole armor of the Lord. You know, and there's another one in the book of Isaiah. Let me see. I don't know if this is going to come up like this, but let me try it. It's in the book of Isaiah. Boom, beautiful. This is Yahushai. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Damn. Let's start at 13. Isaiah 59:13. In transgression and lying against Yahweh and departing away from our power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, speaking oppression and revolt, and that's Jake. Conceiving and uttering from the heart words of falsehood. Yeah, because this is why the Lord said that the heart is deceitful above all things. They go about to establish their own righteousness because they're ignorant of the Most High's righteousness. And judgment is turned away backward. Yeah, because there's no truth in these streets except for what's being taught now. Now the old paths are being opened up. And justice standeth afar off, for truth is falling in the street, and equity cannot enter. Why? Because if you have no truth, there is no balance. Equity cannot enter. It cannot put everything in the proper balance, because if you are leaning on lies, the scale is going to be tipped in the wrong direction. It says, yea, truth faileth, and he that departed from evil maketh himself a prey. And that's why they come against the men of the Lord, because they see as it says in the scripture, that our lives are of a different fashion. So they can't come at us the way they come at Jake's out there, with riches and money and all that other bullshit. That's why they have to come with what? Slander. Try to make Jake look bad. You know, the Israelites look bad because they have nothing else. And even that devil that was that vocab was interviewing, even he said that we're not violent. We don't go about establishing violence. We go about establishing truth through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, through the Ruach HaKodesh, which is the Holy Spirit. And the Lord saw it, and it displeased him, and that there was no judgment. And he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. Who is the intercessor or the go-between? Yahushai. That's why he came down on the earth after the order of Melchizedek. Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness it sustained him. Here's the main point. For he put on righteousness as a breastplate, because this word is a weapon, a spiritual weapon, and an helmet of salvation upon his head. And he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with zeal as a cloak. And that's what he's doing. And that's why he said, that if we love him, keep his commandments. Because if we do that, then he said him and his Father will come and sup with us. Will share their intimate thoughts and emotions with us, which is this truth, this mystery, this beautiful mystery of this word. According to their deeds, accordingly he will be paid. Fury to his adversary, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will be paid recompense. So shall they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai from the west, which we're in the western hemisphere, and his glory from the rising of the sun, which is in the east. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Why? Because the men of the Lord will be standing upon the names of Yahweh, names of Yahweh and Yahushai, and his truth, through the Ruach HaKodesh, which is the Holy Spirit. And when Esau comes in, the Lord is going to push them back when it comes to the elect. But the rest of them out there, them other Jakes, they ain't gonna get. So don't stress yourself out. Oh my God, I'm tired of these Jakes. I'm tired. Hey, the Lord gonna send a flood of ass whooping on them. So don't worry. Hey, did not the Lord tell Ezra, don't worry about how the wicked shall be punished, but worry about how the righteous shall be saved? The Lord got, look, you best better believe the Lord got them. Ask my man that was calling for James. And that hot oven of an electric car, The Lord had him there. He couldn't escape. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. And the Redeemer shall come to Zion, not the whole world, and upon them that turn from transgression in Jacob, which are the elect, saith the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. As for me, this is my covenant with them, saith the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, my spirit that is upon thee, meaning the prophets, and my words which I have put in thy mouth, which goes back to Yahushai, shall not depart out of thy mouth, nor out of the mouth of thy seed, nor out of the mouth of thy seed, saith the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, from henceforth and forever. So going back to Isaiah 49:2, and he had made my mouth like a sharp sword, in the shadow of his hand hath he hid me. You can read Psalms, the 91st chapter. And made me a polished shaft, in his quiver hath he hid me. And this is why the Lord is unleashing his prophets out here, to bring about and teach this word. All right? What do we got here? Right, so going back to Isaiah 50, I clothe the heavens with blackness, and I make sackcloth their covering. The Lord power hath given me the tongue of the learned. When you look up this word, tongue of the learned, right? The word for tongue, once again, is lashawan. Lashawan, which means tongue or lip. All right? Pa, I believe, means mouth. And then of the learned is you got the word lamawad or lamad. The word lamawad or lamad, as you see here, lamad, which is the root word, means learned. right? To teach, to learn. Taught, learned, discipled, accustomed to something. See? Instructed, which is also what? A disciple. Remember what the Apostle Paul said, that milk belongs to them that are unlearned, but the meat belongs to them that by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil, because they've been discipled, they've been learned, they've been taught. All right, they've been used to this. Then when we go down here to the different usages or the different scriptures where the word learned comes in, here Isaiah 8:16, bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples or among my learned. Did not Yahweh say that? Matthew chapter 11. Matthew 11:28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. What is the rest? This truth, the comforter. Take my yoke upon thee and learn of me. Be taught of me. Be discipled of me. Be disciplined of me. For I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Let's see what this word learn here means. Learn of me. Learn. You have the word manthano. Manthano, which means to learn, be apprised, to increase one's knowledge, to be increased in knowledge, to hear, be informed. Right, that's why it says be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools. To learn by use and practice. You're not going to learn if your yap is going, if your mouth is yapping. To be in the habit of, see, accustomed to. Now, what's heavy is you have, real quick, about ready to close out. You have not Isaiah, Jeremiah, what is that? 13. Let me see something. I believe I ran across this earlier. Yep. Now check this out. Can the Ethiopian change his skin or the leopard his spots? Then may you do good, Tom the Esau, that are accustomed to do evil, or learned to do evil, or discipled to do evil, or right here when we look up the word accustomed is the word lamawat or lamad, learned. The wicked are estranged from the womb. This is what they're programmed to do. All right. So that was the word learn of me. So let's go back. Let me see, is this the one? Nope, it's this one. Right. So you have bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. Isaiah 54, which you just read. Isaiah 54:13. And all thy children shall be what? Taught or discipled or accustomed of the Lord Yahweh Shem, and great shall be the peace of thy children. Jeremiah 2:24. A wild ass used or taught to the wilderness is going into something else, and then you have the word for the Ethiopian here, accustomed. For Esau. So pretty much, let's see, that was pretty much it. Oh, Isaiah 54:17. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, save the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai. Which we read that one, Isaiah 8:16. Let's see, what was this all about? Okay, that's going into something else that I had brought up. All right, so pretty much, this has just been a various topics. I didn't know where the Spirit was going to lead us, but hey, Barakateh Yahweh Bashem El Shai for guiding us in this morning, edification. I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say Shalom.